While the world is ready to put a Dodger cap on Roki Sasaki, we have all the reasons why he may end up as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We also have your Arizona Fall League updates, as well as your answers to your Mailbag Monday questions in 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montier, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This is my vice mayor, your thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman. And Jesse, I know this shouldn't give me hope, but there's one thing I saw on Sunday in regards to the Arizona Cardinals winning their game that gave me probably entirely too much hope, and that was Joc Pederson. He's still in the Valley. He still loves us. He says here, football is life, which I can get behind for sure because of recent things that have happened in our fantasy football league. But Joc took in the Cardinals' big win over the Jets on Sunday. I know this means nothing, Jesse, but I want it to mean something. I want it to mean he's staying here in the Valley. I know it doesn't suggest that, but it does mean he likes it here. He hasn't like completely evacuated the Valley.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess to be fair, like this is sort of a bizarre time to evacuate the Valley.
No,
it's
yeah,
now
no,
like
now is when you
78
stay.
degrees every single day. But we did see Corbin Carroll show himself. He was at an ASU game, I believe.
Excellent.
Over the weekend. And Corbin Carroll isn't going anywhere, Derek,
We know
as
that.
far as we're aware.
We know that.
So if Joc Pederson is going to be attending Valley sports games as well,
Yes,
then surely that must mean the same thing.
Absolutely. I don't know.
How am I taking this stance? And
I
you're
don't know.
you're the one who's like,
Yeah.
this doesn't mean anything,
It
but I
doesn't
really
mean
want it
anything.
to.
No, I know. It surely means he's going to stay here. It makes me wonder, how much do you think that Joc is going to get? And do you think like he's going to leave for the money or like a better situation? Like, I don't know. I really don't know what would motivate Joc at this point, as far as, if he would want to stay here and help this team in a year where they're going to obviously kind of be putting all their chips in, or if like another change of scenery just based on him getting a lot more money somewhere else is in the cards.
Yeah, the more I've thought about this, the more I can see a path for the Diamondbacks to bring Joc Pederson back. I'm not saying it's likely. I still think the odds are probably stacked against that happening.
For sure.
But Joc Pederson was a really good player, and he's an interesting player in that he was elite at what his job was for the Diamondbacks in 2024, right?
Correct.
His job is to rake against right-handed pitching and do literally nothing else, right? He's not going to
Yeah.
play in the field. He's not really going to face lefties at all. He's just in there to mash right-handed pitching. And because of that, because he's such a specialized player, it kind of puts a cap on his value.
Correct.
Like
That's fair.
I mean, you look at his numbers and you're like, oh, this guy's a $25 million a year player easily. But then when you put it in context of what his role actually is, he's not a $25 million player a year.
No.
There's just no way that happens. And so, even though he turned down his side of that $14 million mutual option, I'm not sure he gets all that much more money on the open market. Maybe it's a 2-year deal as opposed to a 1-year deal. But I think the D-backs would have been happy to have him back on that $14 million option had he accepted it. And maybe they're willing to pay a little bit more than that to retain one of the best designated hitters in all of baseball.
I think one thing that does have an impact on this is once they've kind of officially moved on from Christian Walker, they do have more money to potentially bring Joc back. And again, it's like you said, it's unlikely. And it also isn't, again, without the Randall Grichuk compliment, I don't know if it's going to work out as well to bring him back next year as it did this year. But I just, honestly, the one thing I had come to know about Joc Pederson over this last year is that I love the guy. I think he is a great personality. I think he has been an underrated leader and teammate in that clubhouse.
Yeah,
And again, I
100%.
know it's just a small example that I've kind of talked about more than once, but the fact that you have someone like Jake McCarthy who literally moved his locker over to be next to Joc's and away from, like, who moves away from Corbin Carroll and Geraldo
Yeah,
Perdomo?
yeah,
Like, you're in
right,
that block,
right.
but you move over to Joc Pederson. It's because you want to sit under the learning tree, right? And I think that there's ways that Joc goes about, his business, but it feels like he was a great teammate. It feels like he really fit in here, and it does. I mean, he's kind of always been partial to Arizona. I think when he came here, didn't he already have a house here or something like that? I think that was the
I
case,
think
or he was building
yeah,
a house, is what it
yeah.
was,
I
right?
think that's accurate. Yeah.
So maybe just maybe, the I guess the money ends up not being as important as maybe staying here in the Valley. He could have accepted that option and didn't, but I mean,
Yeah,
again,
no surprises
no
there.
surprise there because he knows his value is higher than that. I still, again, don't think that kind of rules him out completely. But it's one of those situations where I don't think the odds are in the Diamondbacks' favor. I also don't think the odds are in the Diamondbacks' favor of signing Roki Sasaki, Japanese phenom pitcher, who has officially been posted by the Chiba Lotte, which is his team. We did not think that was going to happen. We thought that there was all the reasons why for that they would not allow that posting to happen again. It was something that they already stopped previously or denied previously.
Right, last year.
Last year, but now here he comes. He's going to come take over Major League Baseball, and there has been a lot of talk about him being even better than Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and obviously also a lot of talk about him immediately signing with the Dodgers.
Right. Yeah. And I think the biggest narrative since that news came out that he was being posted, which again, kind of a surprise to all of us, certainly myself, is that maybe we were a little bit too fast to declare Roki Sasaki a Dodger, right? Jeff Passan had a great story on the situation. I think it was the night that the news came out or shortly thereafter. And in his story, he said Los Angeles, speaking of the Dodgers, will be linked strongly to Sasaki, but assuming he will go to the Dodgers is premature. While the presence of Sasaki's Samurai Japan teammates Ohtani and Yamamoto in Los Angeles is advantageous, the attention they bring and the media horde that follows them adds a different element than other teams. So there is this element of like, yes, you can go play with two of the best Japanese players in baseball, right? Probably the two best Japanese players in baseball in Ohtani and Yamamoto. But if you do that, you're kind of going to live in their shadow a little bit, right? Ohtani is always going to be the number one guy on that franchise for as long as he's there, right? And maybe there's a world where Sasaki would rather get a little bit more attention, or maybe there's a world where Sasaki doesn't want a ton of attention at all. I think there have been some reports along these lines as well, where maybe he would actually prefer a smaller market situation, in which case he probably doesn't want any part of the Dodgers because it doesn't really get any more big market than that at this point. So I think we were maybe a little bit too fast to declare Sasaki a Dodger. Whether that means he's coming to the Diamondbacks is, of course, a whole other question.
I think part of it is the same way people make the jokes, but maybe they're not jokes, about Juan Soto signing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers just have a, I guess, very well set business plan that not only do they make plenty of money, but they've figured out ways to creatively go around Major League Baseball's policies for your salary, right? And I mean, that's something that's huge, and that's something that makes them seem always like a favorite. You also have the fact that, again, coming from an international team and being able to go to a team like the Dodgers, where you do have so many, you have so many names you're familiar with, players that you've played with before, and it's just a situation where you might feel more comfortable based on the familiarity of those people, the other players, Yamamoto and Ohtani in the clubhouse. However, I agree with what Jesse's saying, and I think that there's a chance that perhaps he wants to blaze his own path, and perhaps that attention doesn't necessarily mean that that's something he wants to be a part of in Los Angeles. I also think that this is ridiculous that Los Angeles just kind of, gets to automatically get the best players in the league or coming into the league like this without there being any kind of process for, I guess, other franchises that aren't in the same position to have a shot at him first. You know what I mean? Like, that just kind of is weird. He's an incredible talent. We have his numbers from 2024. And this man was 10-5 in 111 innings pitched in 2024. He had a 2.35 ERA. He had a 7.1% walk percentage. He had a 28.9% strikeout percentage. He had a 1.04 whip, and he was outstanding. And this wasn't even his best year. This was actually a down season compared to the remarkable numbers that he put up in 2023.
Yeah, it was, yeah, which is crazy to say because those are some pretty good numbers. But yeah, you go back to 2023 and Sasaki, 91 innings, not a huge sample size there, but these are some really impressive numbers. A 1.78 ERA, a 0.75 whip, a strikeout rate just under 40% at 39.1, which is completely unheard of in the majors. No major league starting pitcher has a strikeout rate of 40%. And his walk rate of 4.9%, which is also lower than the mark he had in 2024. So we talked about him a little bit more in depth on a recent show. His stuff did drop off a little bit in 2024, sure. Which is interesting, kind of odd. He did miss some time with an arm injury of some sort. We don't have a ton of information on that. But, when your stuff is dropping off and you still have a fastball that averages 97 with a splitter that has this crazy unique shape that no one's ever seen before, and he's got other weapons in his arsenal as well. The slider, I think, is really his third pitch. Yeah, it's really impressive that I guess this is kind of the floor for Roki Sasaki in Japan is what we saw in 2024, and he's still young as well. He's 23 years old, I believe. There's still some untapped potential here as well.
Compared to Yamamoto and Imanaga, he is actually right up there as far as, talent-wise. Yamamoto in 2023 was remarkable. In 164 innings pitched, he had a 1.21 ERA, 0.88 whip, 26.6 strikeout percentage, and a 4.4% walk percentage. Imanaga, very comparable to his numbers from 2024. And when I say he, I mean Sasaki's numbers. 148 innings pitched, 2.80 ERA, 1.05 whip, 29.2% strikeout percentage, 4% walk percentage. So, he is right there in the same classes as these two pitchers, and we already have had a chance to see what these guys can do in Major League Baseball, right? So I don't really feel like, as we talked about at one point last offseason, you have the same hesitations about bringing in a Sasaki and worrying that he might not be able to have the same success that he had in the NPB over here in the United States, right? But, I mean, the Diamondbacks do have one advantage when we talk about them being able to sign Sasaki over the Dodgers, and that is they do have a little bit more money to spend on an international signee, right, Jesse?
Potentially, yeah. So the big question here is, will Sasaki be part of the 2024 international signing class, or will this be put off until next year where he would be part of the 2025 signing class? The 2024 signing class ends on December 15th. That would be the last day that he could possibly sign. And if that happens, then it's basically whatever international signing bonus pool money teams have left. They've already signed a whole bunch of players, way back in January, really, is when pretty much all those players were signed. And the Dodgers have more money left over than anyone else, which feels intentional. I think they have been planning for Sasaki to be posted potentially. So I believe they have about $2.5 million remaining in their bonus pool that they could give Sasaki. The Diamondbacks, by comparison, have, I believe, about $500,000. That's what Nick Pecoro of the Arizona Republic reported recently. So it definitely, the money favors the Dodgers if he's part of this year's signing class. If it waits till next year, which starts on January 15th, then everyone has their full bonus pool. And at that point, the Diamondbacks actually have more money than the Dodgers would. The Dodgers lost some money because they signed Shohei Ohtani. There's sort of several different tiers the teams fall in. The Diamondbacks have $6.9 million for 2025 compared to, I believe it's 5.1 million, something like that for the Dodgers. So the money would actually go against the Dodgers on paper if this went into 2025.
And he has all the reasons to wait until then because teams will have more money to pay him, right? I mean, this might be a small difference, but nearly $2 million when you're talking about that's all that, international signee like that's going to receive, then that's a big deal. I mean, that's quite a substantial more over 6.9 versus 5.1. He would also be prospect promotion incentive eligible as well.
Yeah, which which is kind of crazy. In the same way that Corbin Carroll netted the Diamondbacks a pick right after the first round because he won Rookie of the Year. Because Sasaki is entering the league as an international amateur rather than as a free agent coming over, it means that he is also eligible for that incentive. So you could pay, even if he waits until next year, you could pay $7.5 million for this guy. And of course, we all know that he's worth way more than that on the open market. He would get, probably $300 million if he was actually a free agent and didn't have this cap on what he could make. But yeah, with the prospect promotion incentive thrown in there, you could be paying $7.5 million for a $300 million player plus a draft pick on top of that, which I believe would be if he won the Rookie of the Year or if he was a top 3 finisher in MVP or Cy Young before he hits arbitration, which certainly wouldn't be a guarantee, but Sasaki is really good, and I think it's totally possible that he could accomplish that.
Well, and I think that again, there's there is something to the idea here that the Diamondbacks or another team that aren't the Dodgers could sign him. And I mean, it's sad to say, but like if the Diamondbacks don't get him, that's all we can hope for from that point is that the Dodgers don't, right? Like that's
100%.
that. And someone said it in the comments, there's a chance, again, Ernesto said, if not the Dodgers, I think it would be the Giants, Padres before the Diamondbacks are even considered, probably even the Mariners or Yankees. And yes, while that's true and very, very small on screen, I will say that you might be right. I mean, that's a disadvantage that the Diamondbacks have. The Diamondbacks are the Diamondbacks, and it makes it that much harder for them to necessarily grab the interest of another team or a player like this, right? I will say that we've talked a little bit about Yumin Lin and kind of how important he is. And again, there's times where a player like
there he is.
There's our guy. A player like that could open up the door for other international signees to want to play in places like Arizona if he does become kind of that, as he spoke about, like that I guess that inspiration for people from his country to kind of come over and make a splash in the United States, right? And again, there is that's the biggest thing that concerns me is there's just that factor of the Dodgers already kind of assembling something there that would make a signee from Japan feel very comfortable to go there. But then there are those larger markets. So it's not great, but the Diamondbacks, I think, are very interested, like most teams in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, 100%.
And Mike Hazen has done crazier things. So I think that I still very much trust them to at least make an earnest effort at signing someone of Sasaki's caliber and trying to improve this Diamondbacks team. And honestly, moves like this are the one way that they're going to be able to keep up with the Dodgers if they can steal someone like this away from that franchise.
Yeah, and as we discussed the other day, like the Diamondbacks have devoted significant resources to scouting Sasaki. They're one of the few teams that we are aware of that made that investment. So us talking about this, it's not a total just pie in the sky,
right.
Like, oh, we're just kind of picking a team out of thin air. There was a report from Jim Allen, who is a baseball writer over in Tokyo, kind of going along with the Dodgers are not a lock narrative. He said the Dodgers are not a lock to sign Roki Sasaki. He will go where he thinks it is in his best short-term and long-term interest. A source close to Sasaki said a small market team with a solid development plan or a solid development setup and plan could be the next or the best destination. So there is, I think, some good reason to believe that the Diamondbacks could be in play here. And again, it's not money is not really a factor. I guess the Dodgers have the upper hand if he signs this year, but if it waits till next year, money is not going. It very well might not play a huge role in this decision, right? I mean, the team that has the most signing bonus money is at like $7.5 million, and the Dodgers are at $5 million. And I know teams can trade for a little bit more beyond that, but the money is going to be pretty similar. There's a cap on how much money you can spend on this guy. It's really a matter of trying to make your best pitch and trying to convince someone like Sasaki to join your franchise. And I know the Diamondbacks are not going to be alone in that, trying to convince him to come here.
I know the game plan now and how the Diamondbacks could do this, Jesse. and that is by hiring Masato Yoshi as their new pitching coach, who was a former Mets pitcher and was also the pitching coordinator who helped Sasaki kind of blossom, right?
Oh, there you go.
Get a solid development plan, as he says in this article, by just bringing in his own coach and making him our pitching coach. And then, hey, then it's done. There might be maybe some sort of problem with the rest of the pitchers, but I don't care about that. If that helps Sasaki, that's my sole focus right now. No, I mean, Chris says we fired all of our pitching staff. We have no strong development. That there is a reason for this to get better. There's a reason for the Diamondback not get better, for the Diamondbacks to have like a sense of urgency here when it comes to hiring that pitching staff and making something change, because again, that is an important part. I think that a pitching coach is going to probably have some input here on what the Diamondbacks do here during the offseason.
So, but they don't have a pitching coach, Derek. So
and so that's why I say bring in Masato Yoshi is what I say. Oh, yeah. There. See, it's not just Mets mentioned piece of Yoshi. I also said Yoshi. So it's like that's twofold for me. But anyway, I don't know. I just it's like you said, it's not just the fact that the Diamondbacks are in it, because all 30 teams, I'm sure, are interested. It's a matter of the fact that the Diamondbacks have devoted resources to it, and in a grander scheme of things, they are trying their best to make this happen, it would appear. So we'll see if there's any further development in this, or if this just ends in the inevitable way that we expected to, with him going to the Dodgers.
One quick thing. I know that the contract situation here is complicated. Mike McCain in the chat say the Arizona Diamondbacks can get him because on the cheap, when he turns 25, they're not going to be able to pay him $300+ million. That's actually not how this works. He is signing as a minor league free agent. And of course, you can promote him to the majors from the outset. It's not like you have to have him sit in AAA for however long. But you get 6 years of club control. So if the Diamondbacks, whatever team signs him, it's not like you're getting him until he turns 25. You're getting him as if you're signing him to, as if he were just coming up through your farm system, essentially, and debuting in the majors. And yes, he would be arbitration eligible once he gets to that point. That's my understanding. So the money could escalate a little bit in those final 3 years. But this is going to be, at least we think, this is going to be an outrageous value of a contract. It's just a matter of which team is able to pull it off.
All right. Well, we know what day it is, and you know what day it is, and we're going to talk about all of those things on the other side of this break, of course. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's time for me to embarrass Jesse a little bit, but remind you that Blue Chew is out there, and if you need it, which you probably do, let's be honest, we all probably do, you got to check out Blue Chew. It's an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. So make sure you check out all that Blue Chew has to offer. Men everywhere are excited to see the postman, because when your packages arrive, of course, your package has arrived. I like that one. Actually, that one's cute. They say there's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can give you confidence where it counts. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 for shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month for free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and information about the safety and more. And we thank Blue Chew, of course, for sponsoring the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast. Of course, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I will die on this hill. We're going to talk about hills to die, and I'll die on this hill. Blue Chew and Gila River Resorts and Casinos are a match made in heaven. But even if you have none of that, make sure to check out Gila River Resorts. It's a wonderful place for a staycation. It's a wonderful night out on the town. Of course, if you're looking for fun, you can check out over the 4,500 slots and live table games they have at their 4 locations here in the Valley, and experience the best in entertainment and fun the Valley has to offer. You can also catch all the action at any of their sports books right now. And of course, they have some wonderful dining options as well. Head to Gila River Resorts and Casinos and let them show you what next level is all about. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details. Of course, we will be hosting our Cardinals and Suns watch parties there all season long. So make sure to stay tuned for more information on how to join us. Come hang out with us and have a great time out there at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. All right. Well, you guys know what day it is. Jesse, you know what day it is. These guys know what day it is. It is, of course, every year is our year on this show. Every month on this show, Hispanic Heritage Month. every week on this show is absolutely Shark Week. Every day on this show, Passover.
It also is literally Veterans Day, if I'm not mistaken.
It is absolutely Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And we got to give a shout out, of course, to all of those who have served, all those brave men and women that have fought for our country. We thank you so much for your service, and we appreciate you. And hopefully you're getting treated like the kings and queens that you are today. Absolutely. Thank you again. And of course, on Mondays, we have this thing we do around here where we go to the mailbag. Kev, let's go.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while there's a letter that makes me go wow, wow. My mailbox.
Sean's calling me out in the chat saying Derek and Espo being designated the Blue Chew ads every time is hilarious. I don't know if you've noticed, Sean, but I'm designated all the ad reads. I know it's only funnier when I read the Blue Chew ones, but I don't ever see this guy tagging in.
That's a great point. When you're on vacation, I have to.
Oh, that's right.
Begrudgingly have to carry the load. You know,
He does, and he does a good job. But of course, nobody does a better job at asking us questions, of course, than you guys. Kev, what do we got? Got big intimate, Kev. Large intimate, excuse me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get that wrong. Large intimate, Kev Thomas. What do we got?
Yeah, so first question today comes from Travis Moore. Travis wants to know, what's your favorite way to spend your birthday / what's your favorite thing to do? As I get older, I enjoy seeing what goofy stuff my kids do. My 3-year-old today wrote scribbles all over the weekly calendar on our fridge this morning and said she wrote Happy B-Day Daddy for each day.
Aw. Well, first of all, happy birthday to you, Travis Moore, if that's the case. We always appreciate your questions and being our leadoff hitter on Mondays. I'll start off with you. What do you like to do on your birthday, pal? I've pretty much always seen you on a mountain when you're out there doing your birthday thing.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely me living my best life is yeah, on a hike somewhere in the wilderness probably. But I feel like I don't usually get that opportunity like all throughout college. I remember being very busy on my birthday. It is in October. And then obviously last year I wasn't exactly doing anything. I mean, I was enjoying myself. I was enjoying myself, no doubt. Covering the Diamondbacks in the postseason was very cool, but I did not exactly have a whole lot of free time on my hands that day. But yes, being out in the wilderness, hanging out with some friends is definitely my ideal situation.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to simplify it, but like, yeah, as I get older, I just want to find something cool to do with my friends on that day, and I just want to find a way to celebrate. And I know it's weird because being an older gentleman of class and dignity, right? You do start to get to a point where you feel like most people don't really want to celebrate their birthday as they get older, and I think that's the
fair.
craziest thing. If there's one suggestion I can make is celebrate the hell out of your birthday. We only have so many, and we only have so much time for us to do it. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, and make sure whatever you enjoy doing, that's what it's about. I think that's the biggest thing is like, make sure, it's okay to be a little selfish on your birthday. It's okay to do the thing you want to do. I know we don't always get the chance to do that, like you said, but I think that usually that's what I find myself doing is bullying my friends and my family into doing the thing I want to do because it's my birthday. And that usually means eating ice cream cake and drinking some beers of some kind. So
you're an ice cream cake guy, huh?
I am a huge ice cream cake guy, Jesse.
Huh.
I mean, if you want to know the way to my heart, it's through ice cream cake.
I feel like you don't come across like ice cream cake stands in the wild very often.
Yeah,
you know?
I love the terrible frosting that gets all frozen because you have to put it in the freezer. I love everything about ice cream.
I ate a lot of ice cream cakes growing up because I think my mom was under the impression that me and my brothers didn't really like cake, which was true for the most part. I've since discovered that
you're like, you could just give me something that's not cake, not something that's half cake.
Right. That's fair. I've since discovered certain varieties of cake that I do very much enjoy, but in retrospect, I've never found myself craving an ice cream cake. Just give me ice cream. Let's just go get like the best brand of ice cream, and I'll just eat that.
Yeah. See, I think maybe it's the uniqueness of it. No other time of the year is an adult really eating ice cream cake besides my birthday. So people that come to my birthday party are usually like, I haven't had ice cream cake in like a while.
Eating an ice cream cake on a day that's not your birthday, that's even more wild.
That's lunatic behavior.
That is absolutely lunatic behavior.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, we figured out the best way to spend it, and we hope you had a great day. I mean, again, I have over the years really enjoyed the fact that I have a daughter who always kind of makes me feel that much more special about it. And now she's 13 and she doesn't give a crap about my birthday. So, or most things, so, unless it's Percy Jackson or something anime related. All right, what else we got?
All right, so question number 2 comes from the basketball and football guy. They want to know, if Roki Sasaki were to sign with the D-backs, whose spot in the rotation would he take?
We'd have 7 guys, Jesse. We would have 7 guys. I guess the first question is, do you think he would start off by going to the minor leagues? I mean, it would be a...
I don't think so.
No, you just have him come right to
so.
the major leagues. So then,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, let's say nothing changes. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in some ways, you're not even considering this question when you're going out there making your pitch trying to sign him. It's very much a situation of like, yes, if we can have one of the best pitchers in baseball
Period.
for $7 million, like count me in. We'll figure out the rest later, right? But it is a valid question still. I think we can rule out Zach Gallen. I think we can rule out Merrill Kelly. I do not think their rotation spots are going to be taken. And then after that, you have to make some tough decisions, right? I mean, Jordan Montgomery, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson. I've said before, I would be hard. It's a little hard for me to imagine Ryan Nelson not being in the opening day rotation. Maybe that does force their hand, and maybe they try him in the bullpen. Brandon Pfaadt, I don't think makes any sense to move to the bullpen. He's such a durable starter who can pitch deep into games. I think it would put a lot of pressure on guys like Eduardo Rodriguez and Jordan Montgomery and Ryan Nelson to come out into spring training and really show what they can do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be competition, or you go with the unprecedented 7-man rotation.
There you go. Yeah, I should look into that.
Who says no? Tori would love that. Tori loves giving guys as much rest as possible.
That is a good point in that. The 7-man rotation, I'm a little skeptical of that. But a lot of times, I haven't looked closely at Sasaki's situation, but a lot of times, guys in Japan are not pitching quite as often as in the majors. They usually have an extra day of rest between starts, and I believe the Dodgers gave Yamamoto at least 5 days rest between starts throughout the entire season. So that is something the Diamondbacks might need to consider if somehow they do land Sasaki, is like, okay, we need to, anytime we have 5 games in a row, we might actually need a 6th starter. So I don't think that's a totally crazy idea. 7-man rotation, though, I think we can safely rule that out at this point.
All right. What else we got, Kev?
All right, question number 3. Carson wants to know, with a lot of uncertainty in the D-backs front office, do you see them being big spenders, or do you see them taking a step back and letting younger talent prove themselves, guys like Pavin, ADC, and Jordan Lawler?
I don't think they have a choice. I do think that in 2025, they are going to have no other choice than to let some of that younger talent prove themselves. I think guys like Pavin he doesn't have the options, right? So Pavin can't be set up and down anymore. I think Pavin is either part of this team now or he isn't. And that's kind of the way that they're going to have to move forward. They're going to have to make some decisions in regards to the roster for sure. But the biggest problem is that they really don't have that much more money to spend than they've already committed to this team for 2025. So it's not a matter of them not being big spenders. It's kind of a matter of them already spending big at this point. They do have some advantages this year. Of course, the Mad Bum contract is officially off the books. Yay. And you also have the fact that, of course, if they don't bring back Christian Walker, or Joc Pederson or Randall Grichuk, which all 3 of those guys are kind of up in the air and still very unlikely, it feels like to me, that they'll be able to bring any of those guys back. They'll have some money to spend. It's just a matter of what their needs are and positional needs that they need to fill first, which obviously would be first base. And then obviously beyond that, I'm sure that they would still pursue some pitching, some relief pitching. But again, I just don't know if the team even has those big glaring needs that they would need to go out and be big spenders this offseason, if I'm being honest. Really what they need is the guys who are here to perform and to perform at the level that their contracts are paying them of. Someone like Jordan Montgomery comes out and is a sub 3.5 ERA guy in 2025. This team's a completely different team. If these guys that are here can perform at the level that we know they're all capable of, this team is a contender immediately without really making too many changes to it, aside from the necessary ones like what they do at first base.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of both, right? Like the Diamondbacks are pretty clearly in a win now mode. I don't see them taking on any kind of rebuild over the offseason. We've talked about maybe trading Zach Gallen. Like maybe there is an outside chance that happens.
Sure.
But even if they did, they'd probably be targeting major league ready pieces in return. So yeah, I think they will spend. I mean, we have not really gotten any clear reporting on where the payroll will stand in 2025, but it doesn't feel like the Diamondbacks are cutting significantly, and they did run a franchise high payroll by a pretty wide margin in 2024, somewhere in the $175 million range. So I think they'll probably be at least speculatively at this point. Maybe they're right in that same range next year. But at the same time, you want to open a window for Jordan Lawler and Adrian Del Castillo and Pavin Smith to prove themselves as well. I don't know if you want to count on those guys, but over the course of the season, you're going to need other guys to step up, and I'm sure those guys will get their opportunity at some point.
All right. Well, of course, we have some more Mailbag Monday questions to get to, and we will do so on the other side of this break. We do thank you guys for being here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Hit that notifications button, and most importantly, for my self-esteem, hit that like button. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you subscribe on your favorite app. And of course, make sure you also leave us a review. We love the feedback, and those 5-star reviews definitely mean the world to us. And like I said, on the other side of this break, we'll have some more Mailbag Monday answers for you, so don't go anywhere. You can elevate your brand right now with Branded Bills, the perfect headwear and apparel company. It is a local company from right here in Mesa, Arizona, and whether you are looking for snapbacks, truckers, beanies, t-shirts, it doesn't matter. Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. They have some wonderful styles dedicated to our great state. They have some styles dedicated to just being a dad, as well as Christmas and the holiday season coming up. They can also get you covered and make your brand stand apart from the crowd. Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. Head to brandedbills.com right now and use that code of PHNX for 20% off your first order. And of course, check out all the wonderful hats that they have to offer. They have partnerships with ASU and U of A, part of their campus collection, as well as, like I said, some wonderful holiday options. And of course, some great Arizona hats for you to check out. Speaking of Arizona, for more than 84 years, Desert Financial Credit Union has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to their community and providing financial solutions that help make lives better. They got me started on my home ownership journey, and I'm so thankful that they did. Hopefully they can get you started as well, or at least assist you with your financial needs. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. Of course, join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members. Desert Financial financial experts who, once again, are committed to their members and the community, offering financial solutions tailored to helping real people achieve their goals and dreams. When you open a free checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 today. And as always, we thank Desert Financial so much for keeping our numbers with the count straight, and of course, helping us with all of these baseball calculations that we have going on. They always audit our stats and make sure we're correct on both sides, financially and of course when it comes to baseball. We got some more Mailbag Monday questions. What do you got, Kev? Let's get to the bag.
All right, let's get to this bag. Question number 4 from Brighton Bobbitt. Brighton wants to know, that's a really cool name, by the way. Who are some potential buy low trade acquisitions you could see the D-backs looking into? Spencer Torkelson is one that comes to mind. Shout out to Jesse's great piece he did over at Go PHNX. I'm going to drop the link here in the chat momentarily, so go check that out.
Yeah, Jesse, I mean, I guess you are kind of a little bit of the expert on this, considering you just wrote about this.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about first base in particular. Kevin, I'll throw the link in the chat if you haven't gotten a chance to read it. I came up with 5 potential trade targets for the Diamondbacks at first base. We've touched a lot on some of the free agency options, but less so the trade options. I think in terms of buy low guys, the one name on my list that I think could be considered buy low is Rhys Hoskins of the Milwaukee Brewers, who honestly, like, I think out of all the 5 names that I have on the list, it's probably the least likely. Not to say that any of them is likely, but it's pretty hard to imagine. I mean, Rhys Hoskins had a pretty brutal 2024 season with the Brewers. He did hit 26 homers, but he was also basically a replacement level player. His first base defense was awful. He was basically exactly a league average hitter. I think he had a 100 WRC plus on the dot. So yeah, like, really poor defense plus a league average bat is not really what you're looking for at first base. And he's going to make $18 million in 2025. But the thinking is, if you're the Brewers and you're a smaller market team, would you rather eat a portion of that money and trade Hoskins elsewhere and save at least a little bit of that money, and get something else in return? So it would be a situation where the Brewers are eating some of the money to help the Diamondbacks out. No team is trading for all of that contract. Maybe there's a fit there. There probably isn't.
Yeah. And I mean, I think honestly, first base is the one area where you can kind of understand the Diamondbacks have to make a move. Outside of that, I really don't know where their focus would be. I think, there are a lot of positions right now that not only do they have covered for now and the near future, but they also have depth behind it. Outfield feels weird because it feels like they're fine at outfield, but I wouldn't be surprised at any point to see them continue to at least, add players that could play the outfield. They had some versatility last year that they're losing in Randall Grichuk, who was DH and also could play some outfield. But I really do feel like the main areas that they have to be focused on at this point is pitching and first base. And I don't mean starting pitching. I mean, I feel like with 6 guys, they're fairly covered there at starting pitching. And again, it's about those guys performing. It feels like, they could use some relief pitching help, but I also feel like this team, especially when you look at the top free agents that are available on the market, they're not in really the market for any of those guys. There's not a lot of guys. They're in the market for Christian Walker. That's the guy that's the big name that's on the, free agent block that they're in the market for. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And of course, I feel like I just have this undying trust in Mike Hazen to make the right move when it comes to especially times like this. Like Mike Hazen is a great, fantasy football manager of picking guys up off the waiver wire and grabbing those guys that, like he knows before everybody else that backup is going to take over that, starting RB1 role and things like that,
You just keep wanting to bring up fantasy football because you're going to beat me this week.
I think that brings us to the next question. Kevin, you got the next question?
Yeah, so our next question is here, Derek. It's actually, what is that?
Oh my
that's
God.
not a question.
What's happened here? What happened there?
That's the score of how embarrassing. This is the fantasy football score between me and Jesse from this week's fantasy football game.
How did you?
Yeah, my bad, guys. I don't know.
How did I tee that up for you so
I don't know.
perfectly?
I don't know how that got in there.
That's a
That's
terrible feeling.
You know what?
That's
Thank
on
you,
me,
Kevin.
guys.
I appreciate you taking responsibility. That was not necessary. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to rub that in Jesse's face.
No, Derek would never do that.
Never.
Can we bring it up one more time? Because I do have one beef with this platform that we use. How exactly do I have a 2% chance to win this game?
I'll tell you how. Because I still have one player left to go, and even though it's most likely that he's going to get positive points, there's the opportunity.
You think there's a 2% chance that your one player scores?
Kylo Ren scores negative
-7?
Yeah.
I don't think with the scoring system -7 is like you would. Is he a running back? What is he?
He is a running back.
He's a running back.
Yeah.
I think you would have to get like negative 40 yards or something in order for that. I think we can safely rule that out.
He could fumble. He could, do a variety of things.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, if he fumbled the ball like 6 times,
they can't say 100%. Yeah, because the score, it's not over. The game's not over. There's still minutes to be played. So
I still have a much better record than Derek.
He does. For
the record.
He does. And I'm not going to Waffle House for the record. What else we got, Kevin?
We'll see about that.
Yeah,
you're still in the mix as far as I'm aware.
Our next question comes from Silas. Silas wants to know, why is MLB free agency so much slower than in other sports? I'd think it would be easier to reach deals because of the contracts being guaranteed. It's always boggled my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the fact that the offseason is shorter than any other sport for the most part. I mean, it feels shorter than any other sport.
I guess it's on the shorter end.
From the time the World Series ends to the time pitchers and catchers report. It's fairly short.
It's like 3 months.
Baseball, we were talking about it with Damon Dog. Baseball just doesn't have that same schedule that like the NFL does. NFL does a remarkable job at taking their sport that has a shorter season and making you not forget about it all year long by having those big marquee events like the draft and other things pop up, free agent signing period, all of that. I don't really know. I mean, we talked about ways that we could spice it up, maybe have the free agency period start like when the winter meetings end. That was one idea that at least Damon had. I thought that was a very good one. I just think baseball is how it is, and baseball's just not as exciting in a lot of ways as some of those other sports based on the nature of the sport itself. I think that, once again, the draft happens at a terrible time of the year, but when else would you have it? And if the draft happened in December for Major League Baseball, would anybody pay more attention to it? Probably
Yeah, the
not.
MLB draft is, I don't want to say it's irredeemable, but
it's not the same thing. You have NFL players that literally make an impact on their team the very next season.
Yeah,
We're seeing
it's
that
so
immediately
different.
with
Yeah,
Marvin
so
Harrison
different.
Jr. and Rome Odunze and some of these guys, right? So it's like you also have the fact that, baseball players take so long to get there. So the draft, it's its own thing. But for the most part, I think Major League Baseball just doesn't do as good of a job as making things exciting and making it happen in a contained amount of time so that a lot of action happens once that period opens up.
Yeah, this was a big question, I feel like, last offseason, because so many of the big name free agents dragged on for a long time, right? I mean, the Diamondbacks, their agreement with Jordan Montgomery was not official until the day after the season started, right? And he was not alone in that regard. So I think a lot of people view this as being a non-ideal situation for baseball, and I am certainly one of them. It's really cool when I don't follow football particularly closely, even though I do have a better record than Derek in our fantasy football league.
The best record.
But I think so. Well, at least for right now. I think once the results become official tomorrow, it might look a little different. But yeah, that's true. I currently have the best record. I don't follow football all that closely, but I do know that once free agency begins, like, a whole bunch of guys have already signed.
Yeah. Just waiting for the official date.
Right.
But like the agreements have been made.
Yeah. It's just waiting to make it official. Whereas Major League Baseball, guys become free agents. Like, free agency begins really right when the season ends, like right when the World Series ends. And there isn't any kind of a build up to like a deadline later in the off season. But even if there was, like, even if MLB free agency started on, say, December 1st, does that mean that, like, all the Boris clients are flying off the board the moment that the clock turns? I don't think so.
Not based on what we saw last offseason, that's for sure.
I don't think so. So there's a lot of factors at play here. I think one of the biggest ones is that Major League Baseball does not have a salary cap, and there just aren't nearly as many guardrails in place in terms of what kinds of deals can be signed and what teams are able to sign those deals. Whereas in the NFL and the NBA, it's like, okay, well, these are the teams that have cap space. These are the teams that don't have cap space.
This is the max so the player can be paid.
Right. And I feel like those leagues are a little bit more player oriented too, where players have maybe more say in where they go and picking their next destination. Whereas in baseball, it's just sort of an open negotiation kind of a thing. So there's a lot of factors at play there. We could probably do a whole podcast on that, but it is a very interesting question.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What do you got, Kevin?
Yeah, so our next question comes from Chris. This is a question after my own heart because I love stuff like this.
Oh, I hate
Sports
those questions
gods
so much,
come
and I
down
love
and
it.
tell you they have a deal for you, Derek and Jesse. The next 5 years of the Diamondbacks, they will not win a World Series. But in exchange for that, 5 years of agony and pain, you get the next 5 years of the Cardinals and Suns winning one championship each, and Arizona gets its NHL team back, Coyotes 2.0. Who says no?
You would be selfish to not take that deal. I mean, as much as that pains me, considering that Jesse and I cover the great sport of baseball, more specifically the Arizona Diamondbacks, I would take 5 losing seasons. Forget not winning a championship. I would take 5 losing seasons of the Diamondbacks for those other teams to experience the great joy that we got to experience in 2001. And not only that, but I might do that just to bring back our hockey team. How could I do that to our great hockey fans of the Valley and deny them that simply for 5 years of losing? We'll be fine on the other side of those 5 years. We'll figure it out. But I'll tell you this much, to make that sacrifice to bring home finally a Suns championship, a Cardinals Super Bowl trophy, and Coyotes 2.0, which we're going to totally rework the name and not call them that. Yes, I'm on board, and I'm sorry. I hate to do that to the baseball fans.
I'm going to stay neutral on this one. I mean, I suspect that if you're a Valley sports fan and not just a Diamondbacks fan, that, like, this is probably pretty easy for you. You'd rather check all those boxes than, have the Diamondbacks. I mean, I guess the alternative for the Diamondbacks is not necessarily that they're winning, right? It's just that, they're not losing for 5 consecutive seasons. So yeah, I don't have a strong feeling on this necessarily.
Pick a side, Friedman. Pick a side. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to pick a side, make him pick a side on the other side of this break. We got one more to get to, and we will be back with just a few more Mailbag Monday questions. And of course, some more from the Arizona Fall League Fall Stars game and more specifically, our guys Gino Groover and Tommy Troy. We got video from them as well as some updates, so make sure to not go anywhere. You know the jingle, you know the phone number. Empire Today is a staple of the Valley, and of course, they are that for a reason. That's because if you need new flooring in your home, they are the go-to for shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Of course, with Empire Today, you're getting easy, quick, and convenient service, and that's what they're all about. You don't want people in your home for a whole long period of time making repairs and doing replacements to your flooring, and Empire Today will take care of it for you in a very, very fast manner. They also have their virtual home floor designer, which was a great way to see how the floors will look in any space. All you have to do is snap a picture and you can see how any flooring will look. They got you covered with a curated product selection, so you don't have to look through thousands of samples to find the new flooring that fits your needs. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when you use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Of course, we thank you guys so much for all of the amazing attendance at our events. We had our trivia night the other night, which Chris and Phoenix is still mad at Jesse for the Clay Buchholz question, but we love you guys coming out. We have so many more events, so you got to make sure to check out our events calendar over at gophnx.com/events. That way you can see all the fun stuff we have coming up. We have the PHNX Territorial Takeover that's on November 30th. That's presented by Neutral and Branded Bills, and that includes a pregame meetup Bourbon Bent in Tucson, along with food and drink being included, a game ticket to the Territorial Cup, and so much more. So fun, family is what mostly you're getting there, but you're also getting all the other stuff I talked about. You can also meet up with us for the PHNX Winter Pickleball Tournament on December 14th at Chicken and Pickle in Glendale. We have doubled the field since the last time we did our tournament with 48 teams this year. All skill levels are welcome. We got PHNX and Chicken and Pickle prizes, food and drink specials, and all of the proceeds are going to Operation Santa Claus, which is an annual donation drive that collects food, toys, children's clothing, and donations for several Arizona charities. So sign up today at gophnx.com/events. All right, we got a few more Mailbag Monday questions, and then we got some Arizona Fall League chat. What do you got there, Kev?
Yeah, so for our co-main event, we got Michael Rokicki, who wants to know, what is the D-back/baseball hill you will always die on?
Well, we all know what yours is, right?
I feel like I'm just asking for trouble with this question. No, it's not Paul Goldschmidt. No, that's not the answer that I'm going to pick.
You've already died on that hill.
Get this camera off of me. Put it on Jesse. What do you got? What are you doing? Oh, don't put me on the spot like that. What's your baseball hill to die on?
Yeah, that is that's a tough one. I'm pretty sure we have answered a question that was very similar to this at one point in the past. And I don't really remember what I said the last time, which is kind of bothering me right now. The D-backs hill that I will always die on. Oh man, that is tough. I guess this is probably what I said when we answered a similar question last time. In retrospect, this take was very poor, but I still stand by it in a sense. When the Diamondbacks traded for one Shelby Miller, and they dealt away a very good player in Dansby Swanson, along with a couple of other players who were highly valued at the time, I, in retrospect, don't think that was as bad of a trade as it was perceived at the time. I think there was something about trading a guy that you just took first overall in the draft that was kind of viewed as like the unpardonable sin. And I understand that to an extent. But I think that the moral of the story with that trade is that Shelby Miller came to Arizona and just wasn't a viable starting pitcher. And I mean, the Diamondbacks probably should take some responsibility for that. I think they're partially responsible for that. But that's not the outcome that anyone expected, right? I think if Shelby Miller had come over to the Diamondbacks and been what he was in Atlanta, which was a pretty darn good starting pitcher, he had an ERA in the low threes the year before he came over, that team could have been really good. Like imagining the 2017 Diamondbacks. I know Shelby got hurt, but imagining the 2017 Diamondbacks with a healthy Shelby Miller in that rotation, that is an absurd amount of starting pitching talent. And Dansby Swanson, like he's emerged into a totally solid player. I think you could still argue that the D-backs would get the short end of the deal, but I don't think it's really an egregious deal at all. The story with that trade is just that Shelby Miller was not at all what you hoped he would be. If he had been, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah, I think I don't really have much of a hill to die on with the whole Paul Goldschmidt thing. I know.
Don't
that's
go
what,
down that road.
I know
again,
that's
Derek.
what Piece
Don't
of
try that
Yoshi
again.
wants me to bring up. No, I guess my biggest hill to die on that I talk about all the time when it comes to D-backs is the what we just talked about the other day, which was the anniversary of the color change, right? Like the Diamondbacks had so much history. They had such a unique look. They had something that actually represented the Valley. And then they turned their team colors and everything into kind of one of the most bland designs you can imagine. And I think that like the weirdest part is how vocal the fan base is about their desire to turn back to purple and teal and copper, the fact that it's kind of falling on deaf ears. We'll see what happens this year. And hopefully with the City Connect changing over, I think the Serpientes jerseys are done now. So there's a shot here for them to bring back something exciting. I hope they learn from teams like the Rays, who went completely nostalgic and fun with their City Connect and can do something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just something we talk about all the time. And again, it's a hill to die on, but it's just so stupid to me. It's just such bad business. I mean, to this day, when I see a shirt hanging in the team shop that has purple and teal as a part of it, it catches my eye and immediately draws me to it, you know? And I think that there's something beyond just the fact that was the color combination we won when we won a World Series.
Yeah.
It just felt like a connection to the Valley and actual like things that mattered, you know, I know it's just colors, but like it's an actual connection to the Valley that they just completely abandoned, you know, like the pinstripes thing is something that was unique and there's not a lot of teams in baseball left that do that. There's an opportunity there to go back to that at some point here. And I just think it was a huge flop. What's wild is that's probably the one thing that fans that don't root for this team or know much about the Diamondbacks would say. There's people that like don't care at all about the Diamondbacks. And the one thing they'd bring up if you talk to them about it is, why'd you guys ever change your colors?
Yeah,
I think at least two
right.
Chicago fans when we were on our road trip brought that up to me. So I think that's a pretty good hill to die on. All right, what else we got? We got one more Mailbag Monday question.
Yeah, so for our main event of the afternoon, we have Piece of Yoshi, who wants to know, what unspeakable things will Damon do, maybe to Garrett Stubbs, maybe not to Garrett Stubbs, if Ketel doesn't win all MLB at second base?
I would like to say I'm not personally responsible for the unspeakable things that Damon will do if Ketel Marte does not.
We just want to absolve ourselves of any
kind of responsibility, right? Like, I don't want to use the term loose cannon when describing my friend Damon Farrell, but I will just say that there are people in life you can reason with, and there are people in life you can't reason with. Damon would fall into the latter. So good luck to Garrett Stubbs should that not happen. And I hope that all of the people at Major League Baseball make the right call for his sake, is what I guess I should say.
I know we had the Silver Slugger conversation and how it would be very egregious if Ketel did not win the Silver Slugger. I think he certainly will. I think that gets announced tomorrow. In the American League, there were some second basemen who had, genuinely very good years. Jose Altuve had not a great Jose Altuve year, but still a pretty good one. 295 with 20 homers. Andres Jimenez is one of the best defensive second basemen in all of baseball. But yeah, I mean,
egregious.
Ketel has to win the award, and he will win the award. And
he's going to finish in top 5 MVP voting most likely. There would be just egregious for him not to win it. So there you go. You're safe for now, Garrett Stubbs. All right. Well, we are going to have more over at gophnx.com for those of you watching on the television set. So make sure to join us over there. We have more on the Fall Stars game. And of course, we got some video for Gino Groover and Tommy Troy. So make sure not to miss out on that. And we love you. We love you wherever you're watching. And those of you that are here in our chat right now, we thank you guys so much for being here as always. Of course, the Fall Stars game did happen on Saturday. We had the home run derby on Friday night, and Gino Groover and Tommy Troy both participated. That was fun. You were out there. What did you see out of those guys?
Yeah, a pretty unremarkable day. I think if I'm remembering correctly, Tommy Troy, I think Gino Groover drew a walk. Tommy Troy, I believe, was hit by a pitch and also reached on an infield single. So there wasn't anything super notable offensively for either one. Groover started the game at third base and then was removed about halfway through. Troy came in as a replacement at second base about halfway through the game. But yeah, more than anything, it was good to be able to talk to those guys, catch up with them a little bit before the Fall Stars game happened. Of course, both of them were very happy to be out there, to have the opportunity to be in the Fall Stars game.
Well, and there is a growing relationship between the two, right?
There is.
You
There
talked to
is.
Tommy, and Tommy discussed kind of him and Gino bonding a little bit.
Yeah. Tommy and Gino, they've become best buds, I guess you could say.
Sounds like a hell of a cop like buddy cop film. Like
yeah,
Tommy and Gino.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, here's a clip of.
For the record, the buddy cop movie would be Groover and Troy.
Groover and Troy.
Or like Troy
that's a good
Groovy.
Right,
That's a
Or
good
like
point.
Tommy Groove.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a new
you're
groove,
right.
something
I
like
don't know
that.
why I was thinking anything else. You're absolutely right. It'd be Groover and Troy. All right, what do we got?
Yeah, we have. And in fact, we're actually, we rented out like a same apartment building up in North Scottsdale with our girlfriends and stuff. So yeah, we've gone up pretty tight over the past year or so.
That was just like recently, or?
Yeah, I was already living there, and then I encouraged him to. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bold move.
Yeah.
That is a bold move. Like, hey, let's take this relationship to the next level. Let's not just be teammates. Let's be neighbors.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Like if I have a 2-bedroom apartment all to myself, like I don't know if it matters how much I like my teammates. Like
You're not inviting them.
that's my 2-bedroom apartment. Like presumably he has his own housing. I have my own housing. Like we'll still hang out. I'll have
All
him
the
over,
time, yeah.
but that doesn't mean I want him to like live at my place.
That's a lot. That's a lot for sure. I think you have to be pretty close to want that kind of, or just not know any better, not know of this the strain that's going to be put on your relationship. But no, both of these guys have been killing it in the Arizona Fall League. They both were rightfully added and deserve this honor. So it's very cool to see them added to the Fall Stars game. And you also got a chance to talk to them a little bit about their Fall League season.
Yeah. We'll start with Tommy here. Tommy had, we talked about it on the show a decent amount. He had quite an up and down season. He missed a couple months with injury. Once he got back from injury, he really struggled in Hillsboro, which is not what you want to see from your first round pick out of college. Like you're kind of hoping that a guy like that is going to be able to motor through your system. And Troy was just really struggling in high A, where he finished last season. But then toward the end of the season, he really found it. It sounds like it was maybe more of a mental thing for him than anything else. And he had a similar narrative within the Fall League where he started 1 for 25, as we've said a bunch of times, and then he turned things around and now has an OPS over 800 in the Fall League. So here's Tommy talking about the adversity, if I can speak, the adversity that he overcame in 2024.
I've had times in the past, maybe not as bad as it was this year, but I mean, like, I feel like this past year has prepared me for any situation in the future. Like if I get into a rut again, I just know how the game is. It's a game of failure, and you will find a way out of it. You just have to put your head down and work.
It's funny how important of a lesson that is. It also seems very, like, I guess when you're a person watching, a fan, someone that hasn't really played the sport, you hear them say something like that and you're like, yeah, of course. But really learning how to fail is one of the hardest things I think baseball players have to do, especially really good baseball players, because at one point they were probably the best baseball player of most of the kids that they played with. And they had just in general an amount of success that other kids don't have. And again, as you go along in your career, the one thing you have to learn to accept is that failure. We even hear that from major league pitchers. Archie comes in here and talks about that. Like, it's just a struggle to this day, considering how mental of a sport baseball is and how that failure can impact you, especially as a young player. You start doubting yourself and you start feeling like perhaps you don't belong. And that you partner that together with a very difficult journey, a journey as a young player that doesn't really give you a lot financially and doesn't really make you feel super secure about your future in that sport. It can be a tough road. And I mean, learning how to accept that failure is just a huge part of being able to make it to that next level. Yeah.
Like you don't want to see your first round pick, struggle for an entire season in high A. Like that's a little concerning probably, but your first round pick struggling for a couple of months, like really going through it and having to find a way to work himself out of it, that really can be beneficial, I think, in the long term. So, we'll see what the future holds for Tommy Troy. He's really looked a lot better here over the end of the regular season and then into the Fall League as well. Speaking of Gino Groover, he has had both like an outstanding fall league and kind of a weird fall league at the same time.
Mr. Single.
Yeah, he is hitting 370 in the fall league. And as I asked him the question that I'm about to show, I felt ridiculous because it feels weird in any way to be critical of a hitter who is batting 370, right? Like probably in a pretty good spot there. But yes, he has 20 base hits in the fall league and 19 of them are singles. He has not hit a home run. He has just one double. He's slugging 389, which is impressively low for a guy who's hitting 370. So I asked him the question, are you concerned at all about the lack of power, or kind of how are you thinking about that? And here's what Gino had to say.
Nah, not really. I mean, hitting is an up and down roller coaster. You start focusing too much on that stuff, you might get out your game. Sometimes you got to accept that stretch that you might go through, because there's also going to be a stretch where everything that touches your bat somehow ends up being an extra base hit, whether you hit it hard or you hit it 45 miles an hour. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I go up there and try to keep it as simple as I can, hit the baseball hard. That's really the only thing I can really control. I mean, obviously everything else is a plus. I'm not going to say it's the only thing, but it's the most controllable factor. Everything else is a plus. There's been some baseballs I've hit pretty good, gets caught, gets tracked down, stuff like that. There's been some baseballs I'd be like, God, like I got beat and I got away with it. It's just the way it is. But for the most part, I'm able to stay consistent. I think consistency is the key. As long as you stay consistent in yourself, your swing, it'll eventually make its way. It'll eventually find land out there. So I think at the end of the day, if you can still find yourself having some success, at a really good clip, even when, it may not be what you're looking for at that time, when it does happen, it keeps you in a good position, to keep everything going.
I mean, I'll tell you, I don't want you to change a thing if you're out there and you're hitting nearly 400 and they're all singles. We'll find a place for you to play in the lineup.
370 will play no matter what.
And I mean, again, like who cares? Like, you're making good contact. It's not even just like, oh, he doesn't strike out a lot or something like that. Like, no, you're getting singles. Like, you're actually getting the ball in play. You're putting the bat on it, and you're doing it often enough for it to be impressive. I'm not concerned about your power, because not everybody needs to be a power hitter. And I think that's something, if you want to talk about the Diamondbacks as an organization, that they kind of got away from last year. We never expected them to be the power team that they ended up being. And honestly, you could argue that maybe at times their offense might have been a little bit more consistent if they were, getting more singles and things like that, rather than, once they started to have that power swinging for the fences so often. I really like Gino Groover, though, man. I think he's going to be
a fun guy to talk to. As you kind of get a sense of there.
It's going to be a special guy. I don't normally get really angry at the comments, but Daft House, I think, crossed the line here. He said there's a reason they made the Penguins Maserati purple. Purple is tacky. How dare you son of a bitch, say the Penguins purple Maserati is tacky. No, I'm sorry. He said, take a group of guys on a team and ask them what their favorite color should be. It's not purple. I disagree with all of that. I love purple. Jesse loves purple. He's wearing purple right now as we speak.
I am.
He's got most of his shirts that aren't PHNX my logo shirt. They're purple. All right. Well, of course, we also I haven't seen the Penguin season finale, so don't ruin that for me yet. We have some more on Yumin Lin, who isn't participating in the Arizona Fall League any longer, but will be pitching very soon in the Premier 12. Jesse,
right. One more thing I want to say on Gino, just real quick. I do think in the long term, Gino is probably going to have to hit for power on some level to stick in the majors, right? Like, I don't know if he's going to hit 370 in the big leagues, right? It's different.
If he doesn't, they're all singles and one is double. I'll still take it.
Yeah, like if he's Tony Gwynn, then we'll find a place for him to play. But I think realistically, in the long run, defensively, he's a little bit limited. I think there's a decent chance that first base winds up being the best fit for him. And if you're a first baseman, then I guess you can be a hit for average guy, but you're gonna have to hit for a pretty high average to stick in the majors as an everyday first baseman if you're not hitting many homers. So I talked to that story that we talked about last week that's over on gophnx.com. I wrote about Gino Groover, and I talked to their hitting coach down in AA Amarillo about this. And basically what he said is that Gino, it's more of an approach thing than anything else. He feels like Gino has power in there. It's just a matter of sitting on a pitch and being stubborn to that pitch. And the more you get into kind of anticipating what's coming, the more you're able to really let it fly and hit the ball a long way. So he thought it was more of an approach thing than anything else.
Versus right now what he's doing, which is basically being able to find a way to dink one out or get a single on something that might not be the best pitch. But hey, it just shows a lot of versatility there and his ability to get the bat on the ball right, which I think, again, you might be right about that overall with a first baseman. But I think if you are a logical GM in baseball, you'll find a way for somebody that is hitting like that. If he could, let's say, theoretically hit like 330 at a major league level, you don't care where that's going. You'll put him at the top of your lineup. You'll have him lead off, and you'll find a way for his contributions to help that team win, right? Even if he's not. Right. But yeah, like the hitting of the ball, that's the important part. Power can come later. Like that's something that can develop. Like if you're showing your ability to hit the ball, then that's really all that I care about at this level right now, and maybe even for a few levels, to be honest. But
he doesn't have to hit 40 homers a year or even 30, right? But like getting into that 15 to 20 range as a major leaguer would be really valuable for him. And Termel Sledge, the Amarillo hitting coach, the other thing he told me is that he's not really concerned about it. He talked about, some of the best hitters in the league. You look at their numbers coming up through the minors, and they really didn't tap into their power until they were in the majors, and they were making that more of a focus. So it's something to monitor, but I don't think it's alarming.
Don't miss Jesse's piece about Gino Groover over at gophnx.com. It's an incredible piece. And of course, there's so many other great articles to be read over there, but that one's not to be missed. Also, make sure to sign up for our daily newsletter, because that is a fun,
yes.
That's a fun entry into your inbox every morning. So go
Patrick
check out.
Is killing it with that.
He does an excellent job. So check that out at gophnx.com/newsletter. And of course, we have so much else wonderful. So Gerald can't be stopped. The man is having a child, and he dunked a basketball and found out it's going to be a baby boy. That's a wonderful thing for Gerald. So we wanted to congratulate him, but it's not going to slow him down. It might even make him work even harder at writing articles. So make sure not to miss everything that these guys have going on over at gophnx.com. And Jesse should have an article up here soon about Yu-Min Lin pitching in the Premier 12, which started over the weekend. The Premier 12, it's a tournament, right?
It is. Yes, it is a tournament that happens in the month of November. I think it's like November 9th to the 24th, something like that. So be something you can kind of monitor from afar here over the next couple of weeks. USA, there is a Team USA. You're not going to recognize a ton of names on their roster. Rich Hill did pitch in their first game, which I thought was phenomenal.
Dick Mountain leading the way.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm allowed to say that, I think, because it's his name. So don't hit me on the on the cursing on that one.
So you're not necessarily. I mean, this isn't the World Baseball Classic, right? You're not seeing rosters quite to that extent. But yeah, Yu-Min, clearly his Taiwanese heritage is very, very important to him, and that's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons that he is not pitching in the fall league anymore. So he really wanted to pitch for Chinese Taipei in this tournament. So I believe they have their first game on November 14th. So I don't know if Yu-Min will necessarily pitch that day, but it'll be kind of fun to. I don't know if you can watch this. I imagine you probably can somehow, but at least look at the box scores and see how Yu-Min is doing.
Keep posted on Yu-Min and everything he's up to, because that guy is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I can't wait for Bad Jimmy to return back to Diamondbacks. It'll be the Reno Aces. Me and Jesse are definitely taking a road trip out to Reno to see the Aces play this year. That's for sure. That's going to be a fun team to watch. He says, hopefully. We're making it happen. Forget that.
I feel like we've been talking about doing that for quite a while at this point.
That's been hopefully. Now we got to make it happen. But of course, we thank you guys so much for stopping by today. We always appreciate your time. You could follow us all on Twitter. I am at Cap_caveman with a K. This maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, large intimate Kevin Thomas on the ones and twos is at Kev Tom Writes. Again, you can figure out the spelling on that. We're not even going to give you a hint. Figure it out. Our show's at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. We'll be back tomorrow with another 1 p.m. episode. So until then, we hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when the Dodgers don't get everybody.
We all silly like the mayor.